Hi, it's Chris at Cork and Crown. I'm going to try another drink for you. I'm going to try a perry. Today I'm going to try this perry right here. That is Ross-on-Wye, yellow Huffcap and Blakeney red. Ross-on-Wye, tried a couple of their things before, done films of that. Really great producer in Herefordshire. A lot of barrel aging, loads of different traditional varietals. Yeah, really interesting guys. Got me into dry cider. But I'm going to try one of their perries. So, for those who don't know, if you don't know, a perry is basically a pear. It's the cider equivalent. It's a pear equivalent of a cider apple, if you like. They're not good to eat. They're what's called spitters. If you bit into one, you spit it out. That's why they're called spitters. But they have a great levels of tannin and acidity and sugar, which means they make great fermented beverages, i.e. perry. They're a bit difficult to grow. They can take a long time to get established. They don't give you as much fruit as an apple tree. And when it goes wrong, it can go badly wrong. It tastes terrible. So it's probably why it's less common than cider. In fact, that is why it's less common than cider. But when it's done well, it's delicious. Most people think they've never had a perry. But if you ever had something like, well, something made from pear juice, let's say. Ever had baby sham? That's basically probably made actually from concentrates rather than fresh pear juice. So whether it was, some people certainly would not qualify that as a perry. I'm not sure I would either. But anyway, that's probably the most famous pear drink in Britain, if you like. Yeah, so let's give this a go. It's got a lot of sediment in it. Bottle conditioned, all these things from Ross-on-Wye. The other day I was a bit vague about it. It's obviously bottle conditioned. The amount of sediment in here is crazy. Quite a lot of sediment. Doesn't bother me. It does bother you. Let it sit and sink to the bottom. Colour, very different to the ciders that we've had. Look at that. It's kind of like a light straw gold, I would say that. Bordering on a hint of lime green, possibly. Let's crack it open. A little bit of a hiss as I opened it. Some bubbles coming at the top. There you go. You can see that. It's bubbling up a bit. So these, so it's 2020 now. These perry pears were pressed in 2017. This is a blend of two types, yellow Huffcap and Blakeney red. Yellow Huffcap is one of several Huffcaps, actually. Some great names perry pears have got as well. So there's a black Huffcap, a red Huffcap, a Hendry Huffcap. I had a delicious cider made from a Hendry Huffcap, actually. And the second one is Blakeney red, which I might have mentioned before. Blakeney red, probably one of the most famous perry pears from Gloucestershire, from the Forest of Dean, I believe it comes originally. Yeah, so it should be a great blend. This, yeah, it's got a great cast. So let's see how it does. Pour it out. So one thing before I start, just talk about tasting. I've worked in beer, done a lot of stuff with wine, spent years in cheese, did a lot of tasting in all of those categories, and actually quite a lot with cider and perry now as well. And I've talked a bit about the tasting glass, how this is a much better shape to put your drinks in if you really want to taste them, because you can get your nose and get more aromatics. You can't take such big gulps either, which is quite a good thing. You're only like necking it in one and then going, oh, that tasted good. It doesn't go down well at tasting events, and you probably wouldn't get many tasters in before you fell over. So yeah, I use an acronym. Might be an initialism actually. Google it. LAST. And I use this for beverages. It's slightly different for cheese. For beverages, so L is look, A is agitate, like this, swirl it around. S is smell, and T is taste. Yeah, and also you could have think as well, as it could have a double T on the end of the word if you wanted. And actually, when you taste it as well, it's not just the initial taste. You have to leave it for a bit in your mouth. Think about it for a while. Sometimes 10 seconds you need, 15 seconds. Sometimes more flavours will come. Sometimes when I'm talking about something, I'll get more flavours coming as I'm talking. Certainly happens with cheese a lot when we're trying cheese professionally. But also happens with beers, ciders, wines, whatever, perries. Yeah, there's some quite noisy parrots around at the moment as well, so forgive them if they make a lot of noise. I quite like having parrots around, quite cool, but they can be noisy sometimes. So yeah, it's quite a light colour. Slight hairs. One other thing to say about Perry pears is they have a sugar in called sorbitol. Now the thing about sorbitol is it's non-fermentable, which means that it can't be fermented and therefore it will remain in the beverage. So you usually have a little bit of sugar in Perry, whether you like it or not, because sorbitol will remain in there. So we're talking about keeving for ciders before and how that means you have residual sugar left over if you keeve the cider. I won't go into that now. You can't keeve Perry pears. They don't contain the correct enzymes and chemical compounds to do it. So I was told by a cider maker. But you will always have residual sugar anyway because it's non-fermentable. So that's something to think about. Rarely bone dry, if ever, in fact, bone dry. So I've swallowed this quite a lot, so I smell it. So there's more citric acid in Perry pears than there is in apples, and also it doesn't go through malolactic fermentation in quite the same way often. So it has a distinctive aroma, quite a pear aroma actually. The specific compounds that give it that aroma are present in the drink. So there is a hint of fresh pear on this, but that's not all that's going on here at all, which is entirely expected from the Ross-on-Wye guys. There's a little bit of, I want to say, that kind of Wellington boot thing going on again. A little bit of funkiness as well. Farmyard funk perhaps. Really interesting nose. I actually really like it. It's not just concentrated fruit. There's lots of different layers in this. Yeah, I mean the pear's there, but there's certainly other things going on the top, the funk and the... Let me just give it a taste. Very light sparkle. Very light sparkle. One other thing about tasting. When you see me slurping, I know it looks daft. I know it looks daft. But it is the best way to taste stuff. Get it around all your mouth, oxygenate it, let it fill your palate, and you will taste it a lot more. Unfortunately now, I do it with everything. Water, coffee. I mean, I look like an idiot when I'm out and about. And when I'm at home as well, for that matter. But no one can see me when I'm at home, so it doesn't matter. But it does make a difference. It's the best way to taste things. So this has got fresh pear. Decent acidity, loads of minerals. It's quite green in character, but there's a softness and a richness in the middle of the palate, which is really nice. Almost like slight milkiness to it, which gives it another dimension. A lot of people describe Perry sometimes as being like the Prosecco of like the cider / cider world, if you like. I find that a bit derogatory because most Prosecco taste of sod all, and that's why I think if you go to the supermarket with a tenner and you bought a bottle of Prosecco, it wouldn't be a patch on a good cider that you bought for a tenner. That would knock its socks off, or a Perry for that matter. It'd knock its socks off. I'm going to have some more of this. Getting a little bit of a new Wellington boot, which for those of you who don't know, being a long-term cheesemonger, I've been through a lot of Wellington boots, and the smell of a new Wellington boot is a wonderful thing. And you'll get it in Rieslings a lot, French, Alsatian Rieslings, German Rieslings, and it's something I look out for. I really like it. It's very subtle in this, but it's definitely there. Yeah, minerality, mouth-watering acidity, not loads of tannin, maybe just a hint, but I didn't expect to get loads of tannin. Really refreshing, really interesting. 6%. It's good stuff. If you like kind of like off-dry white wines that are interesting, then I think you would like this for sure. It's delicious, and there's a hint of sugar in it, but it's really, really subtle. And often the sorbitol and the residual sugars you get in apples as well, it's not the same as it's got a different sort of flavour to it. It's got more like a baked sugar flavour, I find. Anyway, good stuff. Ross-on-Wye, like them a lot. Yeah, if you can get anything from Ross-on-Wye, get it, try it. It's all good. If you want to try a Perry, then this yellow Huffcap and Blakeney red is well worth getting a hold of. I do a large bottle format, bottle conditioned Blakeney red, pure Blakeney red from them as well, which I might open one for the camera just because it's an excuse for me to drink a bottle of it, which is also delicious. Really delicious actually. A bit more expensive, but it's a larger format. Anyway, blah blah blah. That was yeah, a Perry. I hope you found some of that interesting. I hope you understood everything I said. I know I have a bit of an accent and can mumble sometimes. I'm working on it. But yeah, guys, cheers, and I hope to see you again soon. Okay.